Everybody, welcome to Up Close and Personal. As you see here next to me, this is Jdog. He is going to be our guest. He's a fellow member of this network. He's actually going to be releasing some content here soon, so please keep a lookout for it. So I'll let him share about that. But before we actually begin, just in case people are not interested in checking us out on YouTube, please check us out on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Amazon, Google. We are on there. Right. So with that being said, Jdog, I'm going to go ahead and just give the floor to you, and you go ahead and share your story. And I may kind of exit out of the camera so that way people can see you. So give me a second. Take the laptop, Jet. There we go.
All right. Okay. So basically, I started transitioning as a youth. Started transitioning around 14, 15 years old, somewhere around there. And it was pretty tough. As you guys may know, the trans community, especially towards youth, is getting attacked right now with multiple different things. And for me, that hurts. It breaks my heart. I can't stand it. For youth out there, it is just so hard to be who you are, especially in schools, in public places. Like I don't even use public restrooms anymore. I don't. And it's not okay. It's not. And something needs to be done about this. Mm-hmm. And, I got segregated in school. I got discriminated. I actually skipped school because I hated it that much. And I had an IA that would follow me around. I had a few teachers that were, supportive that I could go to, but there wasn't a lot of people at that time that I could go to and reach out to. But the teachers that were there for me and that were supportive, that was great. It's always great to have support systems. So I really want to encourage the youth out there to find their support system, whether it's a friend, whether it's a teacher, a mentor that you hang out with on a daily, or even just like your mom or your dad, if they're supportive. I know that for some youth, that can be a very tricky subject to talk about with parents. But that is the first start to getting your voice, is if you express yourself and you say, hey, this is me, express yourself the best way that you can. Do not be afraid to use your voice.
Yeah, despite with all these bigots that are saying that, what they're doing is a justification that they're trying to protect the youth. And, it's weird because I just saw a study that LGBTQIA plus issues are barely getting taught in school to begin with. It was I believe it was fewer than 1%. Because they're going on this garbage argument right now that they're saying it's getting taught in schools and people are getting indoctrinated and people are all of a sudden wanting to do that. So tell me, if you can, Justin, when you were going through school, were issues like that getting taught in school?
No, there was actually nothing being taught in my schools about LGBTQ history, or even just safety precautions for people who are transitioning in schools, because there are mean youth out there that like to target people like us, and I was one of those people that was targeted. That is mainly the main reason I don't use the restrooms anymore, because they decided to come in and jump me at one point. So I think that there needs to be more education towards teachers, towards staff, towards even youth about trans history, or even just safety and precautions that us youth can take, as well as staff and students.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why safe, affirming spaces are important.
Yes.
That's exactly why they're important. But also in the same breath, I've always said this too. What creates a stigma? Lack of education and a fuck up. Imagine if people were getting taught about our history, because, I've been saying this for a while. A lot of members of our communities have forgotten our history. And therefore there's this division that's going on. So tell me a little bit more about your family life. How did your family accept you, or how did they take when you were coming out as trans? How did they take it?
So my family was supportive from the Um, my grandpa was not very supportive. He comes from a very difficult time period where it was just not a good time period for even colored people. And it was really hard to get used to that. Eventually, he did start calling me by Justin, and but it does take some time for some people. But even then, now he's still not understanding. Um, my family, my mom took me through my top surgery and back. Like I love my mom still, despite everything that has happened recently and recent events with them. Uh, some things they're supportive of, and some things they're not. It's just the way my family is, and it sucks. But I think the best way to look at it is that like even if I don't have them in some aspects, I can create a new family, a family with support and love and care that doesn't like give me shit.
Well, I mean, honestly, Justin, I mean, that's something that you're going to find anyway. When most of these youth do get turned away by their families, they find families within the community.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. That's why solidarity is important. So, oh, go ahead, Tsukuru.
No, I was agreeing with you. By the way, though, I think Noah's. I mean, you are sort of like directly in front of your PC, right? Right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think if you can kind of because Justin's kind of far away, I'm assuming. So his voice is like kind of harder to hear. So
Okay.
yeah.
Better?
Yeah, definitely better.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me know that.
Yeah. Because
I
your story
lost
is
my
important.
computer, guys. I moved and I lost my computer along the way, but it is being returned. So soon enough, I will have my beautiful computer back.
Yay!
Blame
Yeah,
Monday to
I like
garbage
it.
day.
Much better. Much
Indeed.
better. Yeah,
That's
I
what
can
I
hear you
always
much
say.
better. So.
Yay.
Great.
Hey, tomorrow's
But I
much
mean,
better. It's on
so
Monday.
okay. So this may be obvious question, but this has been really on my mind, and this has been really bothering me. So I will just ask you this question because as some of you know, this weekend, California, California Teachers Association is having a conference down in Palm Springs. So this is an annual conference that they have uh, focused on LGBTQ issues, right? Because California supposedly has actually a law that requires schools to teach diversity, including LGBTQ. So they are required to teach a little bit about history and also like inclusivity at schools. So there's an annual conference for teachers to gather in Palm Springs and talk about it. So well, naturally, I don't want to say naturally, but okay, my camera is doing a weird thing, but forgive me. But anyway, so few hate groups, at least one, Mothers for Liberty. uh I don't know if they are showing up. We don't have intelligence in that regard, but they posted about this conference on their website, or actually sorry, on social media, and like called attention of their members to this conference and saying that, oh, these teachers are indoctrinating children, right? Their favorite rhetoric. So it's been bothering me. And so from your perspective, as a person who studied their transition during their youth years and experienced what the school life is like for trans youth, frankly, I mean, what kind of difference does it make for to have teachers who understand trans issues and versus schools not having these anything about like trans issues or inclusivity or like, so if there are two different worlds where teachers are understanding trans issues and this another world where there's like no discussion of gender identity, no discussion of LGBTQ issues, you know, um, what do you think of that?
I think that in a way, I believe that it would help in schools. Just simply because knowing trans issues definitely does help in school. It helps teachers understand what the kids go through on a daily basis being trans, because like a lot of us trans youth are not wanting to go and talk to teachers. Not at all. It's not a thing that we want to do because like that trust isn't there. I had zero trust with I only have trusted one teacher and that was it. But it's just difficult, and I think that if we were to educate and actually put it in the education for becoming a teacher during the college years and stuff, I think that it would help a lot better, and the school violence towards trans people would stop because the violence is so bad. Like my close friend, I'm not going to mention their name, just privacy purposes and everything, but they've told me that that it's rough. The violence has increased, and there is days where they don't even want to go to school, and that breaks my heart because, like, to me, school is supposed to be a fun thing. School is supposed to be a positive thing. You get to go hang out with your friends, learn. You may hate math and all this, but that grows over because in the real world, you're gonna have to use it for certain jobs. And I think that it would just be safer if they were taught, if there was education, if there was a plan, even just activists going to schools and just putting on a seminar of learning for these teachers. It would help a humongous ton. And also it would help with the youth experiencing depression. It would help with the youth experiencing, trigger warning to everybody out there, suicide, but I think it would help with the youth who are having problems with urges to commit suicide, and stuff like that, anxiety and whatever they're dealing with.
That is very true, Justin, because you know what? That's the thing. You got these bigots out here that are claiming that they're listening to science when they actually don't acknowledge, apparently, that mental health is a fucking science. And they actually see that actually more people are experiencing intense symptoms of anxiety and depression. Actually, even last year, 82% of youth wanted mental health care and they couldn't fucking get it. And I mean, if you find too, even with suicide attempts in schools, and it's not a safe, affirming space, the rates of attempts go up. When it is a safe, affirming space, yes, it's still a problem. I believe it was like 14% at home, and I think it was like 18% at schools. Don't quote me because I don't have the stats right there. But still, the point is, attempts went down. Because right now, if most of you haven't heard, Louisiana, the Republican representative in Louisiana, introduced a federal version of the Don't Say Gay bill. Garbage. Such garbage. And I actually kind of want to put this PSA out here, to the people that are participating in these garbage organizations that we've been mentioning. Again, I just want to say, shame on you. This is a problem. Because if you are successful in eliminating the trans community, who do you think they're going to go after next? You. So let me just put that peace of mind there in your heads. And I actually kind of wanted to ask you then this, Justin. You mentioned that having that environment in schools would be helpful. And I would even argue that it teaches inclusivity. And that's something that I would argue has been missing. Cultural humility that is not getting taught. What would be, just being in this marginalized group, what do you think? Do you think it would make a big impact on inclusivity if it's getting taught?
I think it would. I think it would make a big difference in inclusivity. In particular, like, for example, like when I was in school, they had nothing, no clubs, no extracurricular activities, even involving LGBTQ in any way. They didn't have any resources or anything. The only resource that I had was a community center. that was for LGBTQ youth. And I will give their name just for anyone. They're based out of Spokane, Washington. Their name is Odyssey Youth Movement. They help with getting your surgeries done. They help with if you plan to ever, have that. They help you learn about like safe sex. They help you transition. They help you learn more about testosterone and estrogen, and the pros and cons of what you would experience during transition as well. And they have helped me a ton, along with even getting my surgery done with my top surgery. And they also, in a way, they did help me find my voice a little bit, along with you both, mainly. I just didn't know how to use it correctly until I met you two.
Well, I'm very flattered.
Yeah.
And see, that's the problem too that I've been noticing with youth too. Like, even with my daughter when she came out, I mean, she came out as gay when she was 10. The LGBTQ center didn't have a program for her to actually join. Like, they didn't have a center. And I honestly, that's depressing. And I think that there needs to be more LGBTQ centers stepping up and offering that space for youth. Because again, more youth are getting abandoned just for simply existing. Like, seriously, just for simply existing, they're getting thrown out of their homes. And, the best thing that they need is they need that safe space. Mm-hmm. Now, I need to ask you, you said that there wasn't any clubs, but I know recently that, they've been coming out with GSA clubs.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about GSA clubs?
Honestly, I don't really know. The one that I've heard, stuff, I've heard some good things, I've heard some bad things. I think the most important thing is just education again. Mm-hmm. Because the things that I've heard that, they teach and stuff with GSA, I don't believe that it's real. I don't believe it's actually factual. They don't do research. They don't look at stats. They don't look anything like that. And they don't even think about the LGBTQ youth first. They just think about, oh, let's do an art club, or let's do a robotics club. This would be amazing. But do they do anything for LGBTQ? No. Like, that is what GSA is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be helping everybody with in the cultural diversity aspect. It's supposed to be helping everybody, not in a way. I feel like GSA does segregate a little bit with some schools. Some other schools may be different. But in some schools, they do tend to do that. And that is something that really needs to change.
I mean, the whole purpose of GSAs to begin with is to provide that safe space. But, my issue with GSAs in general, it's just, okay, what if a kid is getting bullied in school? The last place you want to be is in that same space, which is why I would make the argument that's why they need their own separate little center away from school. Because why constantly be exposed to that trigger? Like, yes, you can have people around you, which is great. I support that. But being in that physical setting where you're experiencing all that victimization and people just attacking you, honestly, I would argue it needs to be away from the school setting. I mean, I know my daughter is going to be a part of like the GSA in her school. And, and that's great. Having that social system is great. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I appreciate you really like sharing some insight when it comes to GSAs. Mm-hmm. I mean, and GSAs may not work for everybody. GSAs may work for some.
Yeah, see, that's the thing though. I'm okay. So, today I just came here to prepare to listen because, as someone, who really, I mean, okay, when I came out as lesbian first, when I was 29, so kind of late in my life, and also like when I started transitioning, that was last year, so age 50, right? So as someone who came out and transitioned like very late in age, I don't know what youth experience is like. So I came here to listen. But coming from country like Japan, I think my thing is like I kind of wonder, and I'm kind of summarizing what I'm hearing, here is, um, I just don't think, either here or country like Japan, uh, there is there are not enough options, for youth. I don't think. I think there should be more options. Like,
Mhm.
as Noah,
Yes.
as you were saying, like, okay, for some people, GSA or some kind of clubs at school will be great, right? I mean, some people may enjoy that, but others may not be. You know, um,
Mhm.
like growing up, I wasn't someone who really do very well in groups. I was pretty solitary, and I didn't want to do things at school anyways. I prefer to go outside, so and hang out. So as you were saying, there should be options. There should be safe space to go, outside of school. And I think with youth, it's very tricky because there's always a concern that, like, okay, will they be exposed to danger? Will there be adults like taking advantage of them? Of their vulnerability. And although some of them are, I think some of these talks are sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It's propaganda, but others are actually there are some truth to it because there are grown-ups who really do take advantage of youth and their vulnerability. So yeah, I just think that there should be a lot more options for youth. So really like silencing and silencing the movement to create these options is really not the way to go.
Mm-mm.
It's really not helping. So
I 110% agree with that. There definitely needs to be more options, okay? I mean, that's the whole point of authoritative parenting is working with your kid and exploring options. We shouldn't be having a set dictation and more or less a standard. Because again, yes, having a safe, affirming space is important, but yes, it's not going to be. It goes back to the whole categorization thing and the whole generalization concept. They're saying, oh, okay, well, we got GSAs. That's good enough for us. We shouldn't have to go work harder. When in retrospect, you should. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous what's going on with you. And honestly, Justin, I'm just going to be real with you. I actually envy you. I mean, I wish this shit was available when I was a youth. Do you know how much mental like? Oh my god, I can't even just like imagine like all those years going through therapy. You know how much easier it would have been if this shit was out and available. Now you got all these different genders that are out there, and I've mentioned this a couple times, and one of our guests actually mentioned it too. It's a generational divide, and there's some of us that are like, okay, y'all need to slow down, y'all need to not have all these things come out, but you also have to consider now we're in a society that's advanced. More things are coming out, new concepts are coming out. You know why? Because it's now safe to have these conversations. We've made it possible with the gay rights movement. It was like the vessel to make this conversation possible.
Yes.
So, I mean, with that being said, what would be your message to those that are having these type of conversations about with all these different genders? What would you say to the generation, like to our older generations?
I would say open your eyes, be mindful, be supportive, and be understanding. Be be open about who they are. Like I know it's a hard thing to understand. I know that a lot of these genders and everything now, everything that's coming out, it's a hard thing to wrap your head around. But just be mindful, be patient, and be understanding, and be that support system that either your child needs or your friend needs or your family member needs, whoever it is. Because when that person comes out for the first time, it is crucial that they have that support, especially when it's from family or friends. Um, because it's that time where they want to feel that support. They want to know that, hey, I'm accepted. Um, do your research. If you don't know much about it, go on to, Facebook groups, go online and find articles, find websites, learn more, because that is how you improve. That's actually how my mom got to better understanding who I was inside, because when she had sat down and she had came and talked to me, and she had asked me, because she looked through my Facebook and she had asked me if I was if she asked me if I was gay, because that's what she had thought. And I said, no, I don't really know that about myself yet, but I do feel like, I am a male. And so she took me out and, she got me clothes and stuff. She did her research. She went on articles. She even joined a Facebook group that for parents of trans kids, to get a better understanding of what I felt inside. And I can tell you right now, that is the best thing you can do. Research, research, research.
Yeah, a PSA to parents, these groups exist. Please join other parents. Get their perspective. And again, and I'm going to actually, I was actually reviewing a clip not that long ago, Tsukuru, when we were talking about the non-binary community. And you had mentioned a very specific thing that's been stuck in my head. You had mentioned that, they would come to you and gain your perspective, but you made a point to say, don't generalize, because each youth is going to be different. Mm-hmm. Just because somebody gives one perspective does not mean that's going to be like that for the rest of us. Exactly. Educating about trans issues, honestly, it's complicated. It's complex. Mm-hmm. Because each of us are so unique. We may share common themes, but we're so unique. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, people don't really pay attention to that uniqueness factor. It all has to be in a category for some freaking reason. Right. So it's like, why? Y'all need to stop this shit. And parents, seriously, don't dictate your values onto them. Whatever you learned in your generation, that's fine. You could definitely pass the torch, but don't expect your kids to follow that same tradition. You need to be more open and mindful. But go ahead, Tsukuru.
Yeah, no, I was when I was listening to Justin, I was thinking about the PFLAG, group that I'm sort of involved in. I'm not really intimately involved in, but my association started with this. There's this LGBTQ conference, like exclusively for Japanese and Japanese American community here. So I participated in I think 2 years. And anyway, so that's how I got to know this PFLAG, like really Asian focused PFLAG group, and they're great. And so I, having associated with a lot of parents in that group, I do have a compassion for parents too. I mean, at least good ones, because okay, so all these parents who belong to PFLAG groups, I mean, they because they want to know and they want to understand, right? So they're already there, in a good place. But I do realize, I have seen that, a lot of parents, I think, are scared because it's really new to them as well. It's new and it's scary because they don't want to hurt their kids, and they feel like, they sometimes feel like they are walking on eggshells, because if they do the wrong thing, or if they say a wrong thing, it's going to hurt their kids, and that's the last thing they want to do. And they're really frustrated as well because there are questions that they want to ask, but they feel like they can't exactly without offending them, So anyway, so me, being in that group, kind of like made it easier for them to ask questions, because I'm a parent too, and I have non-binary kid myself, actually. So yeah, so it's so I guess what I'm saying is it's important for parents to have a safe space too, safe space
exactly.
to talk about. Yeah. And so that's actually why it upsets me so much. All these hate groups out there are really actually making it very, very difficult for parents to learn about, their kids as well, because now they are creating this narrative that, parents who are supportive of their kids are actually hurting them and abusing them, which is really, really not true. And it's just a bogus, but I'm just really afraid for these parents, because I know a lot of them want to understand their kids, want to learn, but then like they are being discouraged, by these assholes, Yeah,
That's very well put. They are fucking assholes.
yeah,
They are.
I mean, okay, but see, like, that's the thing. You touched on something very important that I feel like this needs to be highlighted. I didn't even consider this for the longest time when it came to cis people. But you know what? I actually got humbled because I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and like, she knows, but she doesn't know all the way, which is okay. It's okay to not know everything. But she had made a post, and she was getting attacked by members of our own communities. And I think it's important to put a PSA out here for all the trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and intersex people. Please don't shut cis people out completely. Because like you said, Tsukuru, there's a lot of people out there that genuinely don't know. So if somebody misgenders somebody, don't get pissy and throw a Karen fit over it. Try to get an understanding, especially if they're sorry. And even from a parent's point of view, okay, me being trans and with my kid, it even took me a minute to kind of get everything right. It's just because we're so used to having our youth being how they were before. It was hard. But for me as a parent, I still accepted my kid for who she was. Because her happiness and her ability to live her life in authenticity is important to me. And that's all that matters. So I just want to encourage everybody in the community to stop gatekeeping. Like, I know that there's been some really fucked up cis people, but not all cis people are bad. Especially parents who really just want to know the information. Guide them away from these fucking garbage ass hate groups. Because as we were kind of discussing before we actually went live, there is now another chapter with the gays against groomers. They have the trans against groomers. They gathered and recruited other members of the trans community to promote this garbage messaging. Don't listen to them. They do nothing but bring upon harm. It's gatekeeping and it must stop. Mm-hmm. I encourage people actually to not really pay attention to media coverage when it comes to trans people and their experiences. I encourage people to kind of step outside the box. Get offline. Go to an LGBTQ center. Volunteer somewhere where there's going to be LGBTQIA plus youth. Gain a perspective. Because, I have this argument with a lot of my coworkers in mental health. Yes, having research is good, but for me, for true cultural competency, it's not about paper. It's about talking to each person. Even if you get them in a room, a small group of people, get their perspectives. I mean, that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I mean, with this stuff going on, Justin, I know you said that, you are tired of this shit. I mean, I think we can all fairly say we're all tired of this garbage bullshit. We shouldn't even have to be doing this. Mm-hmm. But what would you encourage, like, the youth to do? The ones that are struggling right now?
I would encourage them to just take some deep breaths, and just tell yourself it's going to be okay, because you can get through it. You can get through anything you set your mind to. Mm-hmm. And if I walked through fire to get through everything to get where I am now. And sometimes that has to happen. You have to walk through fire in order to come out on top. There are going to be struggles and there are going to be challenges, but don't take the bullshit from anybody. Mm-hmm. Don't take it from anybody. Use your voice and stand up for yourself, because your voice is a powerful thing. Your voice is everything when it comes to being an advocate to help you. Mm-hmm. And if there's like, numbers you can call, if there's that can help you get out of a current like situation. Like let's say like your home situation isn't the best. If there's a number that you can call to get on like assistance and stuff like that, do that. Like take care of yourself.
So that actually brings me to a resource. Any youth that are experiencing any type of ideations and they want to talk, call the Trevor Project. They have a youth hotline. I actually volunteered for them very briefly. But essentially that's what they do, and they help provide those resources. I also want to encourage everybody to the 2022 national survey is out. It's not only just for adults, youth can participate in this too. So parents, I encourage you to encourage your children to participate in that. I know doing surveys suck. I hate doing surveys. It's a bore. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to promote education and awareness and visibility. That's one way you can use your voice. Do I think there needs to be research every year? Hell yeah. But that's not the case. So it's important that we're out there in wide numbers participating in this survey, because that national TRAN survey is very, very thorough. They go from anywhere from workplace discrimination, schools, and they do it by state, even by race. So it's very, very thorough. So please, I encourage everyone to actually participate in that survey, because we need to make a change for the youth. And that's the only thing I actually am going to say, though. I am proud of Gen Z. That generation actually impresses me. If they have the ability to dox people, oh my goodness. And they're the ones that are not shutting up. And I think I would actually like to put a message out there even for Gen Z. Please bring back the phrase, we're here and we're queer and we're not going anywhere. Despite what Lesbians United has to say, saying that they're not queer. I'm still boggled by that, by the way.
Yeah,
Well, that term, like, so when I was in school, that was actually a hurtful term.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I just upgraded it. And if they said that to me, I'm like, I know, honey, and I'm beautiful. That's where I'm gonna stay.
Hey.
Literally, I had someone say that to me. I'm like, beautiful bitch. Hello.
I know you did not just pull a Mattel on me.
Yeah. Someone actually said that to me, and I was just like, yeah, that's me.
That's another thing too. The term queer, yes, that used to be a derogatory term. Actually, I even heard even the word tranny. That never was a derogatory term. It was made derogatory though. The term queer is anything. You know, I always ask people when they tell me they're queer, it's like, well, what does that mean to you? That's a question you should ask people who do identify as queer. What does that look like to you? Another concerning thing, even with like queer and questioning, this is the thing that's concerning, is the youth that are questioning whether if they're trans or if they just identify with an orientation. I believe it was like 48% of those youth last year, according to the Trevor Project, they considered suicide. That is a big deal. That really says a lot, actually, because the fact that they're questioning and they're not getting that support and they're basically forced to conform really says it all. So I was going to ask you, Justin, is that something that you have personally experienced? Like, have you actually witnessed stuff like that where you would see people kind of just like push others back in the closet?
Yeah. So one of my close friends who is not here anymore, he got pushed to go back into the closet by his own family. And I had actually had to talk to him. I was on the phone with him about a pretty good chunk of that night, just calming him down. I was like, don't go back in the closet. You are worth more than what they are saying to you. Like, that encouragement during that time is very crucial, because for me, I know that I experienced that as well, where I was like, well, maybe they would just stop picking on me if I fucking went back in the closet and never came out. You know, like, I even had those thoughts, but I never did it, because I took what they were saying and I'm like, well, you can say all these hurtful things all you want, But am I really gonna let you say them? No, I'm just gonna make funny ass puns and walk on with my day. So like it is hurtful, and during that time, if any youth or anyone is feeling like that, just reach out to a good support. And also that also reminds me, on our website, at transradicalactivistnetwork.org, there is a link that you can go to where you can report any hate or discrimination that you experience, and you can put your name or how we can contact you, or you can just leave it anonymous. It's completely up to you. But that is a really, really good tool to utilize, because the more that we utilize this tool, the more we can, how do I put this?
Spread awareness and bring
yes.
visibility.
Yes. I lost my train of thought. Exactly. Like Noah said, basically to spread awareness. And we also want to work on pushing this hate out, pushing this discrimination out. We want fucking liberation. So please, if you are feeling like that, please utilize this tool. It is very helpful.
Well, okay. Well, Justin kind of stole that because I was actually going to talk about that near the end. So I guess since we're talking about it, we might as well. But yeah, so
sorry.
Essentially what this trans hate tracker is, essentially if you experience or you witness any type of discrimination or hate, we have different types of categorizations when it comes to hate. And honestly, this is probably the best designed survey I've ever seen. Out of all my years in the field of mental health, this is probably the best format of surveying, because you're getting a perspective. You have that opportunity to write out what you witnessed as opposed to just answering a question. And we give you that opportunity to spread visibility. And do know that it is completely confidential. I was getting ready to fall into that trap again. Okay. It is completely confidential. So we're not going to spread anything without anybody's permission. So just to give you that assurance. And it does apply to youth too. So youth can take that survey. Am I correct, Tsukuru?
Yeah. And it's okay. So yeah, it's for trans, non-binary, intersex people, any gender non-conforming folks. Yeah, essentially. And I just think that so okay, so as I said, I didn't come out till later in life, but when I was a kid, I got bullied really, really severely, from age 6 to age 7. So I feel like, though, so based on that experience, I mean, it sounds kind of stupid, but I think some people really do not know like what kind of harm it does to people, because so I mean there are various varying degrees of hate behaviors, right? And some things people do not think that it's harmful, but it really is. And I think some people have to be told that, I mean, it looks obvious to us because we experience it and it hurts us, it's so we know, but maybe other people don't know. Like things like, somebody reported like hate behaviors at work. So like, people staring and whispering, and so that person like may not hear it, may not hear exactly what's being said, but he can see people whispering behind his back, and he senses that they're whispering about him. That's harmful.
Yes.
Imagine that's happening to you every fucking day of your life. That's harmful. And I don't think people realize that. People think it's just just trivial thing, because they are the ones who are doing it, and they think it's trivial, and it's like all it's all for fun, but it's not. For people who are experiencing, for people who are on the other side of it, it's not. So.
And you know what, too, honestly, I think there needs to be a change, honestly, when it comes to the school system. I mean, first of all, I've never took that anti-bullying policy seriously. I mean, come on. It doesn't even benefit even hetero kids. I mean, if we really want to go into that conversation in depth. So there needs to be a change. So, I mean, more trans people, more people in the LGBTQIA plus, and I actually read this the other day, and Justin, you kind of touched on this a little bit.
Yes.
Where kids that identify in the LGBTQIA plus communities, they are 3 times as likely their GPAs are going to go down. They're going to miss school because of what they experience in the school setting: hostility, bullying, verbal, physical, or even sexual harassment. That happens. Okay? We live in a dangerous society now. So this is really a big deal for us right now. And with all these fucking garbage bills that are coming out, trying to ban trans kids from using the bathroom, trying to ban trans kids from participating in sports, denying them that fucking health care to live themselves authentically, which I'm actually going to go ahead and drop a little bit of psychoeducation on this. Trans youth are not getting surgeries. I repeat that. They are not getting surgeries. They are taking hormones and blockers. Blockers are completely reversible. They do not do any damage. Do not listen to this fake garbage information out there saying that they cause brain tumors or whatever the fuck they're accusing of it as. That's not the case. The worst type of head pain a youth is going to experience by taking a blocker is a fucking headache. That is it. That is it. It is a process of how trans youth go through the transition. It's not like they're giving out hormones like candy. It's not like they go into the doctor's office and say, "Hey, I have gender dysphoria." Oh, okay, well, let's give you hormones. That's not how that fucking process works. Just so you know how the process works, kids go see a therapist. A therapist makes that assessment. Because, you do kind of want to be mindful, though, because kids do learn quite a bit, and you want to make sure it's really authentic and they're not just saying it just to say it. That's why mental health is fucking there when it comes to this shit. These bigots are sitting in there talking about, oh, we're trying to do this. No, that is why a therapist is there, to sit there and assist and assess to make sure that shit is not existing. Then they get put on the blocker, because essentially that's the first thing they do. They go on the blocker. That's their opportunity to really just explore. When my daughter came out, she came out with just strictly using she, her pronouns. The longer she's been on the blocker and the longer she's been on hormones, actually, she's really identified herself as non-binary, but she still wants to take hormones. That's okay. That is so okay. And to all the members of the LGBTQIA plus that engage in gatekeeping and forcing people back into the closet, again, shame on you. Shame on fucking you. And I want to challenge everybody. Imagine in your spot. Imagine how you are with that person. So say if a person approaches you and they're curious and they ask questions, and then you push down their throat that they have to live a certain way and they're not going to be accepted into the community. Imagine somebody saying that to you. How is that going to make you feel? I'm going to bet you money you're going to feel very isolated. I'm also going to bet money that you're probably going to experience symptoms of depression. So please be mindful when you're approaching people. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. Because, again, it goes back to the familia aspect. There are people that don't have supportive members of their family that are going to support them. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have found that online spaces can be safer. So they reach out to support groups, just trying to get, that validation. And it's pretty sad, especially from my experience, from what I've heard from my other trans siblings, they've had to go back in the closet because a lot of trans people go into this binary scale. Mm-hmm. First of all, I think that's the first thing that we all need to focus on. We need to get rid of this fucking binary standard that's there. Okay? It is not a binary scale. And as we've said on previous episodes of our other content on the trans files, it's basically an infinity.
Mm-hmm.
Non-binary is on there. It is all there if you actually just fucking look. I didn't really want to go into this because I know, Justin, this is your show. But I just
Right.
To if anything.
Well, I'm glad that you're with me on this one when it comes to the topic. But I mean, seriously, it all starts with parents. Just being kind to your children and listening to them. And don't put them in a category. There are youth this year. What's the total? 48 trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming people have lost their lives this year, either if it was from violence or suicide. And the people that suicided this year were from fucking youth. Youth. The recent one was a 12-year-old trans child. 12! Fucking 12! I really want to know what's going through these bigots' heads thinking this is going to fucking save children. It's not going to save fucking children. It's going to harm children. And I want to get your perspective on that, Justin. Say if we lived in a society where, let's say if these fascists get their way, what does that do for you?
To me, I'm not going to lie, that would hurt me a lot. I wouldn't be able to get the things that I need to be who I am authentically. And honestly, I don't know where I would be at that point. I can't really say definitively where I would be in terms of my mental state and everything. I know that I would experience depression. I know I would experience anxiety and a lot of mental health issues because of it, because I wouldn't be able to be myself authentically. And I'm just going to say right now, for those fucking parents that are not letting their child transition, shame on you. If you are not letting your child live authentically, they cannot be themselves and they will experience anxiety, depression, and possibly make an attempt. I was one of those kids that made that attempt before I came out to my mom because I was scared that she was going to kick me out. And that is a natural fear for you to have with this situation. That is why we need more parents being supportive of their children and who they want to be authentically.
That's a PSA to parents. Please listen to that. That is important. That is critical. That is from a I'm going to say a former youth because
former youth, yes.
Former youth at this point and everything. But that's what a youth goes through. Hey, that's what's going in their minds. Yeah. I know from me personally, when I have told people that my kids was trans, I would be like, why would you do that with the society the way it is? And considering like the climate and temperature of it. Because I've always said, the biggest crime you can commit to yourself is not living authentically. That is the worst thing you could do to yourself. I know there's hate, but that's why parents, you need to be there for your children, knowing that you're going to be the backup and you're going to fight for them all the way. If you really give a fuck about your children, then listen to them. I mean, psychology has proven on multiple occasions children are very capable of making decisions and choices like this, as long as the environment is safe and affirming. But I know we're going to be getting close to time, so I wanted to get everybody's last thoughts before we went ahead and close. So, Justin, since you were the guest, go ahead and share some closing thoughts that you would like to share with the audience.
So I want to remind everybody to please take care of yourself. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Find the support systems. And parents, please, I urge the parents out there, listen to your children and be supportive. If you don't really know that much, that's okay. Do your research. Do what you need to do to support your child. Because your child needs you to be there for them at that point in time, because like they don't know what they're gonna walk into in schools. They don't know exactly what they're gonna walk into in general. So being there is very crucial.
Mm-hmm.
And youth, please stay strong. I know that it is really tough out there right now with everything that is going on with the bills and everything, but stay strong. Use this as a motivator to fight for your rights, to fight with your voice. Make this known that what they're doing is not okay and you will not stand for it. Use your voice and be like, I will do this. This is my right.
Mm-hmm.
So please, I urge everybody, take care of yourself and love you guys all.
I gotta say, I'm proud of you, Justin. You just took the words right out of my mouth. I know I would have said too. So thank you for kind of like hijacking that from me. So hey, it's totally okay. Like I kind of
It's your show. Anyway, so
yeah.
Well, I'm a mini you. Let's just put it that way.
What have I created? No, I'm kidding. I'm dead. Either way, I'm good. Okay, with all that funny joking aside, how about you, Tsukuru? Do you have any final words for this? Seeing there's
I mean,
a pretty in the
okay,
background.
my cat. Okay, so I mean, I pretty much echo what Justin said. Um, yeah, I'm kind of speechless right now because I'm just kind of yeah, I don't know. Like for the last 15 minutes. No, I mean seriously, it's been very rich. Last 15 minutes because I was sort of reliving, my childhood, my youth, and then my years, the years, last 26 years that I've spent as a parent. So, I just feel that, as Justin said, um, I just really feel for youth right now because, it's just really, really tough and scary out there. And I just imagine like how how scary. So I'm just getting emotional about how scary it must be for them. So when the thing it gets better, campaign. I think when it started, I think I was college kid, if I'm not mistaken. I think because it was in the 90s. There was this campaign. Like a lot of gay people started. It gets better. Essentially, like they came home and filmed themselves, and they said, they talked about their experience growing up, and it was the message to youth that it gets better. Whatever you're experiencing, it's hard, but it will get better. So it really moved me in the 90s, like when I saw it as a college student, because growing up again, I wasn't really out, but growing up and
Oh, you're still
hold
there.
on, sorry, like some message came on. Okay, so yeah, like growing up, under the circumstances, like my home environment and my school environment, all that, it was really hard for me. um and I really do have to say, okay, it does get better, but the life, life throws really a lot of things at you, right? It's not a straightforward. It's not gonna be like all roses, but when you become a grown up, you really do have a control over your life. So in a way, it gets better, and also like echoing Justin, and thank you, Justin, for saying what you said, because um, not only you have a control over your life, but you really can, you know, you can take it, into your own hands. You can take your destiny in your own hands, right? And you
Yep.
really need to do that. In other words, I think, and that's like how we all survived, and we are survivors. and it makes us stronger. So
Mhm.
yeah, I just want to say, yeah, it does get better. Please do not give up.
I almost got a little emotional there, Tsukuru, because I saw the
I'm
emotion.
trying not to.
I'm trying not to cry right now because, like, I can relate to that too because I was bullied when I was a kid. It got to a point where I actually did make an attempt and everything. I was actually also bullied by my teachers, telling me that I couldn't do it or anything or amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm going to say for my final message is please talk to a trans person, talk to a trans youth, talk to each of us in the community and get a perspective. Listen to your children. And I mean, if you have questions, please don't be afraid to ask questions. If you encounter people that are not going to answer those questions, just ignore them. There's many other trans people that would be welcomed and honored to answer these questions that you have. So don't keep your mind closed. Do not listen to garbage groups like Gays Against Groomers, Lesbians United, Libs of TikTok, Jordan Peterson. Don't listen to those garbage pieces of shit because they're not going to give you the right information. They're just going to scare you. Do not listen to them. They are not our friends. Despite how they're trying to paint it, they're not our friends. They are enemies. Just love your children. Accept them for who they are. Even if they don't feel safe to talk about it, just at least invite them and open the door. Say, hey, if you don't want to talk about things right now, my door is always open for you to come and talk. Or if you could say, I may not even understand, I want you to help me understand. Humble yourselves. Approach it with humility. Don't dictate to your kids about what being trans is. Listen to them because each of us, again, we have a unique experience. Explore that with your children. Don't push them away. If you really love your children, support them. And please, I invite anybody who's in Michigan too. This is my final PSA. Anybody in Michigan, please use your voice loud to oppose that bill that they proposed, 6454. Oppose that bill because what that bill is suggesting right now, any parent that is simply supporting their kid in transitioning, they're facing a max of life imprisonment just for simply supporting their children. Go out to Michigan, use your voice, and don't fucking give up and don't stop. Because even if that bill doesn't pass, that's not going to stop other states from proposing bills like this. Alabama has something like this similar right now. So using your voice is important. Allies, we need you now more than ever. We cannot do this alone. We need you. With that being said, please go ahead and like, share, subscribe. Let's spread the message around. Also, if anybody is interested on Trans Day of Remembrance, if anybody wants to hold a rally, please do it. All these lives, their names need to be said. They must not be forgotten. They have a voice. They may not be with us anymore, but they have a voice. But again, take care of yourselves. Much love to you all. We will see you next week. And please enjoy the week. Celebrate small victories.
Yep.
Just had to say that, but I'll go ahead and hit the music.
All
Much
right.
love.